Hi everybody. Again, sorry I can't be here. This is going to be a watercolor lesson that's for both grades 7 and 8. Alright, and so in grade 7, remember hopefully you are working on the rule of thirds. And your grade 8 students, you're working on rhythm today. Now, we're going to just walk through the painting process today so that you can continue to work on your rule of thirds or rhythm painting in watercolor. Grade 8, humor me, some of the 7th graders maybe haven't gotten this instruction you have, so some of what you're going to hear is a repeat, but I guarantee we're going to get on to another level for you before the end of this video. So the first thing you got to do is tape your paper down. All right? So everybody should have watercolor at this point, or watercolor paper at this point. I'm using a board here because it's easier to move things out. You can use a board. They're over by the paper trays, or you can just tape it right to the table. All good. All right. So you see, my paper is all taped down now, and you need to do the same. Okay, once your paper is taped down, you need to make a sketch using a hard pencil. All right, now I want to show you a couple of things here. I've got two kinds of pencils here. One says 3H on it, and the other has this design ebony pencil on it. Okay, so you want to use the hard pencil for this. All right, the hard pencil is going to work better because it makes less of a line, and it doesn't leave any kind of fuzz or anything like that when you put water on it. Once you've got the right pencil, make out a simple contour line sketch. All right, no toning or adding any kind of shade to your drawing. You just want lines that'll guide you along your way. Now, I did a rule of thirds drawing for the other class, so with this one I'm going to do my rhythm drawing, and I'm kind of thinking of those. Oh, I always get bells in my videos. That's my third time in 3 attempts of making a video. I'm going to go back to my kind of spacey theme, right? We were listening to kind of that space, you know, that like kind of cumbia music that has kind of a fun thing. I'm going to do a space octopus because, you know, why not? And then here I'm just making some simple lines here to do my space octopus. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me draw this whole thing. We'll come back with some, I'll be back in just a minute with a finished drawing for you. Okay, now that the sketch is done, the first step for the way we're going to do it today is to make a wash. And I hope you remember that the way we make a wash is by first getting the cake soft. So you choose the colors you want to use. Alright, put a little bit of water in there so that they get, you know, nice and soft. And then while you're waiting for them to get soft, you put a little bit of clean water in some of the cups on your palette. Alright, so you see here, a couple cups on the palette. There we go, super. Now, remember, it doesn't take very long. Just got to pick up some of the paint and put it in the water on your palette. Alright, rinse your brush off in between strokes there. There we go. Make a little blue and make a little green. And then the first step is to create a wash, right? So we're just making a thin layer of color over the areas that we needed. So I've got my octopus flying through space on a saucer. So let's pick up a little blue for the space bit, right? And I'm going to go around my pencil line drawings. Now, keep in mind that once you put the watercolor paint over the pencil lines, you're not going to be able to erase those pencil lines, which is part of the reason we want to use a hard pencil. Because with the hard pencil, then the lines don't show up, especially after we start to get some dark paint in there, or even when they do show up a little bit, we don't notice them so much. That aside from the fact that the hard pencil won't run. Like if we get it wet, you can see I get a little water on that one. If we get it wet, it won't leave a gray, dusty mess on our painting. All right, now I just did a little bit of space. I'm not going to do this whole thing. I'll show you on the other one what the whole thing looks like. But don't just do the background, all right? Also do some of your foreground too. So like I said, this is the rhythm painting. I'm going to work on the rule of thirds painting in a moment. But see, I'm adding some color, just a wash of color, over some of the foreground as well, right? I wanted some green stars here because why not green stars? Okay, and here, wait, I'll show you. I'm going to add a little, my purple octopus, space octopus, or whatever it is. And it's okay if everything's not right in the lines, because we're going to add layer upon layer upon layer of watercolor paint. So we've been doing things fairly simply up till now. We're going to take a step towards the complicated. All right, I'll turn the camera off and finish this, and then we'll go into the dry brush. Okay, everybody, so you can see I've got the first layer of paint done now. That's the wash. I've covered everything in a thin layer of paint. You'll note the paper's wet, so what's happening is it's kind of warping. Now fortunately I have a painting here where I already did the wash on the first layer. And you can see that because I've taped my paper down, it dried nice and flat. All right, and if you keep your paper taped down, it'll do that. Sometimes it does require you to take the tape off and do it again, but it'll have a nice flat finish to it at the end. So the next step that we're going to do is, after the wash, we can add some more details with sketching, and we can do that sketching in both paint and in pencil. So once again, don't forget to use the hard pencil, okay? The soft pencils like this, these kind of sketching, drawing pencils, these will kind of make a mess, and they'll make a really dark mark that you won't be able to get rid of in your painting. So I don't know if you can see it with the camera here, but I used my hard pencil and I started to make some drawings right in there, and the same thing, the more simple the drawing the better, because really what you want is this to be paint instead of a pencil line, okay? That's what we're going for. And so I've done it with pencil. Now another way you can do this, and I do often do this, is that I will just dry brush a color in there, all right, or dry brush a line in there. So here I've got, remember, a dry brush is where you go to right into the cake. So you pick up some of that paint, all right, and let's see, what do I want to do? I'll do some more of these kind of leaves back here. And now I'm dealing with some kind of overlapping stuff here. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. And I can start to dry brush some of the different motifs that I want to dry brush in there. I'm going to put some more of these leaves here. Yeah. Alright. I was kind of going for a mid-century jungle theme. Maybe I'll dry brush some rocks into the moon surface here. So I'll pick up a little bit of brown and add some rocks to go along with the, I guess it's the moon, as realistic as a rabbit on the moon watching a snail fly a flying saucer away is realistic, but it's all good. This is my rule of thirds painting. So for you 7th graders, this will make sense. Rule of thirds, remember, when we divide up the, in our case, the painting in thirds, and where those lines overcross tends to be the interesting parts of the painting or the work of art. All right, note I didn't make the lines, I just sort of used my intuitive process there. All right, so there you go. Once your wash is down, you might have to give it a minute. You can just kind of fan it. It'll dry off. You can go in with dry brush and add lines for more details, or you can use a hard pencil to do the same thing. Okay, everybody, we're back, and just to do some fast review before we go on to the next step. The first step was to tape your paper down. Second step was to use a hard pencil and sketch out the contour lines of what you want to make. Third step was to wash your painting. Fourth step was to add some more detailed sketches using either the hard pencil or a paintbrush, using dry brush technique. So now what we're going to do is introduce how to add more detail and nuance to your painting, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of glazing, which is kind of fun. So first, some detail. All right, so I've got just a more fine detail brush here, and I'm going to use the dry brush technique. That is, I'm just going to pick up some watercolor paint right out of the cake, and I'm going to go over some areas that I think will catch the viewer's eye nicely. So if you're in 8th grade, this is one of the ways that you can create rhythm, because a darker area of color, like I'm creating in this leaf, is going to catch the viewer's eye. All right, and we can call it an anchor point, something like that. So you can, if you remember we're doing a piece based on music, so you can take that anchor point and take another anchor point and another anchor point and control kind of how your viewer's eye moves as it goes through the painting. All right, so if we make them evenly spaced apart, that's a regular, predictable, nice rhythm. All right, it'll move the viewer through the painting, picking up on areas that you want them to focus on and kind of directing their eye. So if you remember, we were working on the, we looked at that Juan Moreau painting, the kind of abstract one with the bird and the eyeball, but it moved kind of around in a very regular way. And that's what I'm trying to do for you. I want you to kind of go from my leaf to my leaf to my leaves here. All right, there's a little wet on wet for you. This can create a kind of a softer effect. So that you kind of look at things. Now actually in this painting, the things that I want you to focus on more, not so much the leaves as the rabbit hanging out on the moon and the snail flying in the spaceship. So just to catch your eye, and I'm using a little bit of contrast here. Now I don't know if you noticed this, both 7th and 8th graders, but what I'm using here is an analogous color scheme with a bit of discord. So my analogous colors are those cool colors like greens, and I'm going to add some blue here in a minute so you can see. And then my discord colors are red. All right. Actually, the yellow is going to be a bit of a discord, but I'm actually going to change that color in just a few minutes. So there we go. I've started to establish some places that your eye can move around the painting. Now here is kind of an exciting part. All right, so we're going to try a different technique here called glazing. I should have printed it out for you, but here we go. Glazing is where you take washes and you kind of stack them on top of each other, and it creates nuance in the color. So I painted the background of my space here green because I knew that what I wanted to do was have different kinds of greens and blues, and I wanted a green for a base. Now I've made a blue wash over here, and what I'm going to do is go in here to the negative space and just add some color over the top so that this green becomes like a blue green. All right, it starts to add a little bit of variation in the background color, and I'll do that. I'll move around the painting here. I'll go at the end of the spaceship, I don't know what we call these things, on spaceship exhaust, I guess. There we go. Maybe a little up near the top, help keep the eye on the page. There we go, cool. Alright, so glazing is where we're layering color. Now I'm going to try something here. I hope this is dry enough. Also, you can use glaze to change colors. So I've got this yellow here, and what I'm going to do is attempt to get orange. I haven't practiced with this in a while, so we'll see how it works out. But I've got some red wash right there. Alright, I'm picking up my red wash, and I'm going to put it over the top of the yellow. And if I get the colors mixed right, it should actually feel orange. I think I've got a little bit heavy-handed on the red there. We can just pick a little up. Kind of a dirty orange. But it'll work, right? It'll work for us. So there we are, what I'm doing. And again, this is called glazing. All right, it's layering colors to get a more nuanced effect. Or sometimes, you know, we've mixed color in the palette. You can also mix color right on your paper with watercolors by using the glazing effect. Okay everybody, so I finished up part of this painting so you could kind of see how it was done. I just did the corner here, and what I did was used some glazing and use some dry brush to give our octopus in the flying saucer a little bit more detail. And I outlined, just with black paint, I just outlined it to give it a little bit more definition. If I were to put a bit more effort and time into this painting, it could look really stellar, but I wanted you to at least get the idea of what you got to do for today. Alright? So, no matter you're working on your rhythm assignment, right, if you're in 8th grade, or if you're working on the rule of, there we go, rule of thirds assignment, if you're in 7th grade, your goal today is to get as far along on this painting as you can, alright? If you don't finish, don't worry. If you do finish, take some time to kind of decorate your folder or do something constructive and creative and not annoying, alright? And just for funsies, look, that technique that I taught you in the video, glazing, that's where you lay on different colors of paint to achieve a different effect. And you can see in here I did some glazing, and even here, right, that orange is actually red and yellow put on top, one on top of another. Alright, behave yourselves, give it the old college try, and I'll see you when we get back to school next week.